There's a shift that takes place for every owner that I've seen that really steps into it. And when they say, okay, I'm going to make something of this practice. And that shift is going from I'm a therapist who happens to own a practice to I'm a business owner that happens to be a therapist. When did that shift occur and what was the trigger of it for you?
Yeah, so I certainly get what you're saying that, we come out of school, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed with a lot of knowledge in our heads. And for me, I worked for a few years at a hospital, then at a small outpatient clinic. And then when I got into business, I guess I came in with that same clinical perspective and that clinical mindset. Everything I've done up to that point was how to be the best possible clinician I could be. So when I got into business, I made the assumption that I'm good at what I do because I put a lot of time and effort. My wife was there with me at the time, and we were busy. And I guess a few years into it, the family and friends referrals started to slow down a little bit, and it was much harder to keep the place busier. We started growing, so I started hiring other people, making the assumption that people would show up on time and kind of think and do like you do. And I guess it was about 3 years into it, if I had to put kind of a timetable, that I really felt the anxiety and the stress of owning a business. I was working
Mm-hmm.
longer hours and I was working weekends. I was beginning to miss some family events, and I just felt this level of angst inside of me. And I wasn't sure at the time where it was coming from, but now looking back, I realized that I wasn't really sure what to do. I didn't have any training around business. I didn't really read a ton of books around business. Was pretty smart at my craft, and I just thought I could just figure it out. Honestly, I didn't really even think too much about it. And then 3.5 years into the business, I had a fire that burned down my practice, and I was relieved when that happened because right before that, a few months before that, I just wasn't in a good place. So I think between that and the fire being the big event, that's when it really dawned on me that I'm in business and I have a clinical way of thinking and I need to shift that. So that's when I made the decision of, a couple months after the fire, when I rebuilt and came back, that I needed to invest and learn the business of physical therapy.
Well, you said two things. One, you had to shift your thinking, and before that, you said, "Oh, I thought I could just figure it out." Almost like I'm smart enough to figure out this on my own. I don't need anybody because if I use anybody, that must mean I'm not as smart. What was this shift? I mean, can you go into this detail? Because I know what mine was like, and it was a painful process. What was this shift, and how did you start thinking differently about the business, about success, and even more importantly, about yourself as you made this shift that really made the difference?
Yeah, well, that's a lot to unpack. I think there was a lot of different things that happened. There's one story I have where I play tennis every week with a bunch of guys, and then afterwards we go and grab a drink after tennis. And he asked me, he said, "Jamey, who'd you fire this week?" And I was like, "What do you mean, who'd I fire?" He goes, "Every week you're either hiring someone or firing someone or someone's quitting or something like that." And I couldn't believe that. So the next day I went in the office and I asked my front desk person, Claudia, I said, "How many people have we hired and quit or let go in the last year?" And she said, 25 people. And I was like, "Oh my God, we only had a staff of 6 people.
Oh
25 is
gosh.
4 times our staff." And I think that was a story. There was more, but that was like a moment where I looked in the mirror and I said, maybe it's you.
Mm,
And it was hard to admit that as smart as I thought I was, and, like many people, especially in the academic smart profession that we're in,
right.
I had a slight ego and I just assumed I could figure it out on my own. And that was a moment, and there was other moments like that where I was like, I can't do this on my own. But I believed that the business could operate. Steve, I started to get more clear around what I wanted from the business. Prior to that, I wasn't as clear. I just wanted to get busy and try to pay my bills. But then I was like, this business could be something. This business could operate. We could help a lot of people and, outpatient physical therapy. But I just wasn't as enamored in treating as much. I wanted to own the business. I wanted to hire great people and make money and be there for my community. I just didn't want to be the person doing all this stuff. So that's really what hit me that kind of led me to this idea of creating a business that could operate without me day in and day out. I started to read books. I started to invest in those things. And I started to see that it could be done.
Right.
Unfortunately, at the time, I didn't know anybody that had a business my size, which at the time was under 1 million, that could do that. You had to have tons of clinics and all that, which was never my interest. But that's really where I started to shift and be like, you know what? Just like school, the reason I'm a good clinician is because I put a lot of effort and money, time around learning this craft. That's the only reason I'm good at what I do. What if I put some effort, some time, and some money around learning the craft of business ownership as it relates to, in this case, physical therapy? I bet I could do the same thing. So I really just started to make an investment on myself in this because my wife was not working at the time. It was just me. It was all on me to do this. So
Hmm.
I was gonna make it work or fail trying.
Yeah. That's a lot of stress to have to be in that spot. How did you deal with that emotional shift of it's okay to ask for help? It's okay to go outside of yourself to invest, to network, to learn, and not just feel like, oh, I should be smart enough. I should know how to do this.
It's not easy. It's taken a long time, many years to get out of the conditioning that you're the smartest in the room, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I realized that as I started to put some time and energy in this, I hired coaches, I was part of masterminds and other groups. It took a lot longer than I thought because I had a lot more work to do on myself, getting over
Mm.
myself. That was number one. And number two, there's different levels of this. There's no playbook. There's no like color by numbers. Oh, if you do these 5 steps, like I thought that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
And when I faced one problem, all of a sudden 3 others came up. So I realized this was a journey. And the journey was all about hitting milestones, not getting to some arbitrary finish line. So it was hard. It still is difficult. So I've learned how to be okay being uncomfortable, being okay that I'm not the smartest in the room, but that's a good thing. I had to learn how to learn from others. That was something that was difficult for me because I was used to being, I tried to be the smartest. I want to know more than everybody else. And I
Right.
realized that there's some really smart people out there I can learn from if I just, close my yap and just be open to learn.
It's almost like you were the biggest barrier to your business growth, but you were also the best solution to it.
All of us
Working,
are the bottleneck. All of
isn't
us
it?
are the
Isn't that
biggest
so true?
barrier. All of
Yes, we.
us.
So, okay, I talk to owners all the time, and there's this idea that I got to grind. I got to work harder than everybody else. I got to treat more patients. I got to spend all the 60. The only way to do it is I got to spend 60 hours a week, 70 hours a week doing this, and that's the mark of success. That's the mark of I'm doing it. And I've had people tell me, that to do it any other way is just is not reality. So what's what do you say about that? What did you experience in terms of this idea about growth, success, and how do you achieve
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Well, I have a few things to say about this. So personally, I think that effort and working hard has to be a part of this. If you're not willing to work hard and put in maximum effort and commitment, then none of this is going to work. The problem comes for me several years into this. I'm working harder, but the outcome is not as much as it was when I was younger. In other words, I'm working many more hours. I'm sacrificing family time, family events. I'm sacrificing my own personal health. Like I'm not exercising as much. I'm more stressed and angst. I'm not having as many of those magical moments with my family and my wife. I'm okay doing that if it leads me to something. Steve, it wasn't leading me to anything except more work. So I was just working harder and working harder for the sake of working harder. And I didn't know what else to do because I also bought into you just got to keep grinding and working and grinding and working. And it's interesting because people would ask me, Jamey, you staying busy? And I'd be like, yep, staying busy. He goes, good, good. Busy is good. Like they were reinforcing this idea that
Yeah.
being busy is some type of badge of honor we wear on our chests. And somehow busy equaled success. Busy equaled like arriving. And what I personally learned is no, busy is just busy. And I realized I was just busy about staying busy, just occupying my day and every moment of the day. And I've seen that with so many other people that I've worked with, that I've coached over the years. But when you are, and I hate to use cliches because it's just overused, but working smarter to me is working in a way where you are doing the things that you enjoy, that you get the most enjoyment and you're most productive, that you're uniquely qualified to do. Like it's just your unique ability. When you start to shift the busyness of what you're doing in and day out more towards the things that you love to do, the overwhelm significantly reduces, the burnout disappears, and lo and behold, your income goes up, your happiness factor goes up, how you show up to other people expands, your relationships, opportunities. But it's hard to let go of the thing that we have been so conditioned to believe, especially I'm in the mid-Atlantic Northeast. We love being busy. We love working 24/7. So it's not easy to do, but I don't know any other way to do it because I want the life that I want, the lifestyle I want. I want the income to support that lifestyle, but I also want impact. I love making an impact on other people's, on their lives, on their
Mm.
financial lives, on their personal life, their relationships. That's why I went into physical therapy. Now that's why I coach and help other people. I want to make an impact. I want to have a ripple effect that just makes me feel like I am aligned with my purpose. That has to be a part of it, but that can't be a part of it with me being broke. That can't be a part of it with me telling my wife and kids, sorry, we can't afford that. Sorry, put that back. I want to have the income, but I had to get over a lot of head trash to do
Yeah.
that. And it's still a journey.
So, how do you help practice owners really redefine the idea of freedom, impact, and what they should be doing in their business so that they still feel like, okay, I'm not just taking vacation, but how do you help them go from that? I got to be busy to I'm being
Yeah.
impactful.
Well, first of all, I don't have a cookie cutter approach to anything. There's a framework based on my experience and the things I've researched and read and the people I've worked with, the practice freedom method, the framework. So I don't tell people what success looks like. That's not my job. What I do though, and I do this with every person I meet, is I help them get clear around what success means to them, however they define it. Now, for me, success isn't just financial. That's a part of
Mhm.
it, but it's not the only thing. It's also how you want your day to look. What impact do you want to make in your community, in your business? What impact do you want to make in your life, in your family, your financial impact? Maybe that you have aspirations of, yes, opening up a lot of clinics. That's great. But I like to get into, well, why is that important to you?
Hmm.
Really helping you flesh out your purpose. You see, I think people's purpose and deeper stuff is within them already. I don't think they start searching for their purpose. I think we as human beings already have a purpose, but it gets covered up with a bunch of stuff. So my job is through different questions and support, helping people uncover what really makes them tick. So
Hmm.
dialing in their deeper why, finding that North Star, giving them something to aspire to achieve. Because if you don't have something you aspire to achieve, man, first problem that comes up, you're going to quit. So getting clear on that is important. And then it's a matter of, so where, and this is kind of my unique way. I haven't heard of people doing it this way, but this is my unique way that I'll share. I look at it with, so where's the friction then? Where is the friction and the disconnect between that picture of what you want, of where you want to be, what you want to have, and where you are now? That gap starts the process of saying, okay, so then where do we need to focus on fixing to start putting this together? And there's two areas we're going to focus on. Well, there's four areas, but three kind of go together. There's always going to be a marketing, management, and money aspect of things. Those are basically when people talk about the foundation or the structure of the business, that's literally the structure of how any business operates. But the other part, which where coaching really comes in, that has helped me tremendously and has worked with so well with our clients, that people just don't give enough credit to, is the mindset. You see,
Okay.
your business, frankly, your life has been a series of choices from you. Yes, there's things that happen to us. There's certain things we cannot control. However, when something has happened to us, it has still have been your thinking, your decision, your choices that you made that determine the results after that. So if we're not happy with where we are in our business, then doesn't it make sense, Steve, that we have to start shifting how we are making decisions about things? Insanity is continuing to do the same thing again and again, but expecting different results. And yet, I've talked to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people that are in business, that are in private practice, that are in other entrepreneurial business, that are in consulting and coaching, that are not happy, yet they're not really doing anything to shift that outcome. That's what's difficult about this. The shift comes from you. The shift comes from making a decision. That's enough. There will no longer be, it will no longer be like this.
So, how does all this fit into, I look out there and I see, hey, this is my playbook for X number of clinics, or this is my five-step strategy, do this. And you see it in all aspects of business of, follow by this, do these three steps, and all your problems are solved. How does your approach to all of this fit in, contrast with that mentality that I just need the right playbook?
Yeah, well, if you think that there's just a playbook of follow this and you get this result, then that right there is the problem because you're looking for the answer, the solution. The problem is this, you're asking the wrong questions. You see, when I was going through all this turmoil and difficulty, I realized I was just so into the answers of things because I was conditioned that if there's four multiple choice questions, one is the answer and the other three are wrong. And what I started to learn is it's not about the answer, it's about what questions we're asking. And when we start to shift and ask better questions, more appropriate questions, that leads us to different solutions. So I know so many programs and coaches and consultants, and I'll tell you, at least from the people that I've met, I don't think anyone's bad. I don't think there's anything that, quote, doesn't work. The problem is so many of them are coming across because it's the low-hanging fruit, it's the clickbait,
Mm,
that they're getting people in a desperate place of saying, I have the answer. Follow this. So you throw a bunch of money and you follow the 30 patients in 30 days approach. And then when you do it, you're told at the end, well, you didn't do it right. That's why you didn't get the 30 patients. But your mindset is maybe the next program is this, maybe the next thing is this. And the way I've approached that is there is a framework, of course, of how to build a business. The framework is easy to understand, right? The first thing is, well, you need to actually sell a service, right? You need to sell something of value. You need to learn how to get it in front of the right people, convert them into paying customers, and deliver what you promise you're going to deliver, and make sure you collect the money when you do it. I mean,
right.
that's it, right?
Not rocket
So,
science.
so why do most businesses fail, right? We all know that information. 80% of businesses fail in the first 5 years, and 80% of those fail in the next 5 years. So in 10 years, you have 94% of businesses failing. Are they failing because truly their product or service is not good? I would argue that I think it's fine. The reason they're failing is because the person at the helm doesn't know how to think like a business owner because they don't put any time and effort to learn.
Hmm.
They want to try to quickly get the answer or whatever. When in the right environment, when you have the right support, when you have the right space, the trust, the relationship with someone, and you shine a light on their fear, it just disappears.
So when you're talking to people, when you reflect on your own experience, what questions did you start asking and what beliefs started changing that's really helped you evolve to where you are today and be able to embrace that success and achieve it or see that success in clients?
Yeah, well, the first thing I started to do personally, and then working with hundreds of clients in all different types of industries, is I learned from a mentor of mine, Dan Sullivan, many years ago, who eventually co-wrote a book, the Who Not How,
Mm,
and really the crux of it is, Jamey, you don't have to have all the answers. I want to have the answer. I want to know. I take pride in knowing, and being okay not knowing, being okay leaning into a world of, because when you don't know, there's a level of uncertainty. And
absolutely.
I believe the most successful people out there, all the big entrepreneurs, all the names that we all know, they were comfortable or they are comfortable with a level of uncertainty. And I've gotten more comfortable with a level of uncertainty and not knowing. And what that has done, it's allowed me to be open to, I wonder if there's someone else out there that does know, that can help. So I've taken the pressure off myself as being the one that has to know, which then a lot of times you have to do. And I've enlisted other people, other, as Dan Sullivan calls it, other who's, who else can help me? Not how do I do this? Who
Mm,
else can help me? So that's allowed me to reach out to other people, other experts, other coaches, and be more open to learn to better my situation and all that. So that was a real big one,
mm.
eye-opening one. I think the other one for me is, I guess the way to explain it is the word allow.
Okay.
As I didn't go into physical therapy or become a physical therapist to make a bunch of money per se. That's not what I answered when they asked me, why do you want to be a physical therapist in school? I said what 99% of all of us say, I want to help people. And they say, yeah,
Right.
yeah, tell me more. And I think that helping others is in my DNA. It's who I am. And I started not to try to control everything as I did before. My
Mm,
staff, the reason why I had 25 people come and go, because I realized I was trying to control everything. I had so many damn processes and systems because I learned about processes and systems that it was so overkill, right? Sometimes you have to let go. You have to trust others. And yes, there
mm.
should be a process in place in some areas.
So we've talked about a lot of different things here, a lot of different ideas that hopefully has opened the mind for some folks that are listening, that they're now beginning to look at, or at least be open to the idea that there's a different way of looking at what they do and how they do it and why. Insights are great, but action is what makes the world go round here. So for people who might be listening to this, they're stuck, they're frustrated, they're overwhelmed in their business. They've been pursuing success, but now the success is consuming them. A lot of different reasons why they might be where they are today. What action can they take that begins to move the needle, that creates a new day for them?
Well, I can tell you what has done it for me and so many other people. And it's not a tactical strategy. Well, it kind of is a tactical strategy. It's get help, whether it's a mentor, whether it's a coach. It could even be a small group, not a Facebook group. Don't get your advice from there, but hire a coach. Hire a coach that you resonate with, hire a coach that believes or has done or has the things that you want, because it is hard doing this alone. You see, I can give you all kinds of little tactical stuff. Here's the
Yeah,
problem with doing that. I'm actually not helping you, because you'll start doing the stuff, and whatever's resisting you from doing it all the way through and achieving the results you want, that's the real issue. Because frankly, if you have a business over $500,000 and you don't know how to market and you don't know how to hire and you don't know how to create systems, well, come on. We all have ChatGPT, we all have AI. All of that stuff is out there of exactly how to do it. The
right.
problem isn't that. The problem in marketing isn't throwing money at ads and all that. The problem is finding someone who can help guide you and not
Hmm.
give you a fish, even though it's easy to give you a fish and eat, but truly teach you how to do this and not do it like everyone else. Your business is unique.
Awesome. Jamey, thank you. That's a lot of wisdom there and a lot of opportunity to take action. Any final thought?
You know, I've said this before. I kind of look at business as it's a vehicle. It's our vehicle, and we get to go wherever we want to go. We get to choose the vehicle we have. You can have a stealth bomber, or you can have a tricycle. Now, the tricycle's fine if you want to go 10 feet down the road, but it ain't going to get you across to Europe. So we have to decide what type of vehicle that we want based on where are we trying to go to. And that gives you an idea of the type of business you need to create depending on what that destination is. And once you're clear on that, it creates a much easier path on how to get there. And I believe everyone in business can be and should strive to be successful financially, successful in happiness, successful in purpose, successful in how they own their time. See, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, you can achieve all of that, but it has to be done a certain way. And unfortunately, there's not many people that have achieved that, that know how to teach and help someone do that. So seek out those people.
Awesome.